Hey guys, it is Mike from Baltimore Rides here. Tuesday night wrap-up video, Tuesday, September 26th. Just wrapping up for the night. Kind of an early wrap-up. It's about 1:30 a.m. and I am calling it quits. And there's a couple reasons for that. So just to give you guys a breakdown on how my night went. Got off to a little bit of a slow start. Didn't even really leave the house till almost 4 o'clock, just because I had to get the kids off the school bus and do that. So by the time I got to DC, it was about 5 p.m., 5:15-ish, and hit the ground running. It was a really good start to the night. I was not at all ever really worried about the pace of my numbers. You guys kind of know my expectations. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are really $150 nights. And then obviously I need to get a good volume of trips to get my Quest goal. So, that's where the night becomes a little bit of a pickle. My Quest goal this week, and this is the only goal they've given, it's not like there's a 2-tier one, is 70 trips for $100 bonus. And that's basically through, 4 a.m. Friday, so my Thursday night. I'm not gonna lie, guys, that's a tricky one. I only did 16 trips tonight. I think it was 16 or 17 trips tonight. And that's not for lack of trying. It was really because a lot of my trips were longer ones and they kept taking me out into the suburbs and just not, what I really needed was a night with a whole bunch of little $3 minimum fare trips. I needed that night tonight, and it just didn't provide. So I'm at $160, $157 for the night at 1:30. Started at, let's call it 5:15. So not bad numbers for the short amount of time that I've driven this evening. However, and here's where the catch is, it's 1:30. Monday night bar scene is 2 o'clock closing in DC. I'm all the way out in Rockville. Yeah, not even like the Rockville, the city. I'm all the way out in the middle of nowhere, Rockville. So repositioning back into an area where there's going to be profit is near impossible at this time of night on a Tuesday night. And I would have loved to have gotten 25 trips tonight. I feel like, 3 nights of 25 is then 70s right there. But, now I'm going to have to chase a number. I'm going to have to grind tomorrow and probably leave my house early to, just to make up some lost trips. So just, some nights that's how it goes, guys. And you hear me, I kind of bellyache a lot on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. I always do. I always have a very high expectation of where I want my goals to be. And I'm not going to lie, I get frustrated sometimes when I don't feel like I'm where my goals should be or where the winds of fate just don't take you in the right direction. This was a nice $20 fare to Rockville from where I was. I was, like DuPont Circle area. However, it takes me basically out of the game for the rest of the night. So, I was kind of hoping to grind tonight and at least stay on the road till, 2:30, but it's just not there. I mean, it's a 35, 40-minute drive back to where I need to be in the city to be profitable. By that point, it is not worth the effort. And, this is where you need to make some judgment calls, guys. And I think I'm making the right one here because if I start out the night, if I start out the week kind of grinding and pushing myself to the point of exhaustion, then by the time I get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be a zombie. I'm just going to be a zombie, So being the Tuesday night that it is, kind of starting off a little bit on the slowish side, it's not the end of the world because it's the start of the race. It's not the end of the race. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. You guys have heard me use that expression before. Does it mean that my Wednesday night and Thursday night, I'm going to have to kind of be a little bit, balls to the walls and push myself? Yeah, it means I'm probably going to have to do that. Do I want to? No. But sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. So that's where we are. I'm leaving Rockville now, heading north, so I'm cruising up through the back country to get to Westminster, 27 north, basically, through Mount Airy and Frederick and that area. But, it's still a 50-minute plus drive home. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that this is one of those nights where I would almost rather not make my $150 goal, but get 20 plus trips. Because that $100 carrot is going to be a tricky one to reach, and I'm going to reach it. That's not up for a debate. I'm going to reach it. It just means that I'm going to have to push, and I don't like doing that. I like doing this at a nice even pace, and it's kind of a stinker. So that's where we are, guys. I was going to talk to you about some kind of other stuff tonight. The only other thing I really wanted to mention was the Uber pool update that rolled out today. I was actually supposed to go to the meeting in DC where they were going to roll that out, and my wife was not feeling well. She had a doctor's appointment today, so I played Mr. Mom and picked the kids up from school and did that kind of stuff. So it just wasn't in the cards, me making it to the meeting. Honestly, guys, those meetings are kind of lackluster. I like going to them. I think it's very interesting seeing corporate's perspective, but really the last two have reminded me that, this is a three-party system. There's passengers, there's drivers, and then there's Uber corporate. And really all three different parties have three different things going on. And when you get to those meetings, that's kind of where you see that at its peak, because you see drivers frustrated and obviously venting their frustration. You see Uber really talking about its own priorities, which are the passengers. And then really there's that triple, meet in the middle process. So, I'm not sad that I missed this meeting. Uber pool is changed or refined, I should say. Now they've, and this is all just them speaking, but apparently they've narrowed down the amount of kind of deviation or straying from the path. So if you have customer number one, really sets the tone. Customer number one's destination is, from A to B, and then all the other pool passengers are along that route. So what you're getting is people that are in between you and customer A. You're not getting people that are adding on to, and making it a B and a C and a D, so you're further out or you're straying from the course. They're supposedly now just passengers that are along the route between you and initial. I haven't, well, that's one thing. I can't say for certain I've seen that. I did a couple pool rides tonight. They were pretty damn straight. I'm not gonna lie, they were pretty damn straight trips. Very little in the way of zigzagging, and I will say that's cool because the zigzagging is frustrating. The second part of pool that changed is your fares for passengers to and on, or pickups to and on, I should say, are going to be flat fares. So, passenger one is your pickup to destination, and then anybody else is going to be kind of an along the way stop. So any other stops you make along the way to pick up and drop off customers, those customers will be flat fee add-ons. So now, I haven't really looked back, and I did a couple pools tonight. I'm not gonna lie, I did not take the time to go back and really look and see how that broke down. I'm not really that stressed about pool, honestly, guys. And so, while I do think that the pool system could use a little refinement, and hopefully this pool 2.0 is that, I'm not really not that upset about the pool as a product for the passengers. And here's why I say that. If you think of the services that Uber offers, okay, so you have Pool, UberX, and then all the other stuff above that. You know, XL for large groups, Black for luxury. Okay, but you know, Pool and X is the private car, but just regular car. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. It's a private car, so it's the driver and you. You know, you don't have to share the car and make multiple trips with other people that are strangers, okay? But you pay a little more for that. And that's kind of the cookie cutter. That's the basis. Pool is the economy mode. It's the shuttle or the shuttle service instead of the private car service. So you're going to get extra people in the car that you may or may not, you know, like. There's going to be extra stops along the way. And so your timeline is not going to be as guaranteed. Here's where Pool goes wrong as far as I see it. And I'm guilty of this, I think, sometimes just as much as everybody else. You know, in the old version, leading up to today. You pick up a customer, they're a Pool ride, so customer number one. You see where they're going. You pick up customer number two along the way, or group number two along the way, because it could be up to two people. Now you're dropping off either customer number one or customer number two. Then all of a sudden customer number three gets added in, and now you're picking up a third person. Then it's reshuffling and dropping off one of those three people, then the second of those three people. And what happens is it's frustrating. It's frustrating and cumbersome for a driver because we're so brainwashed to go to the pickup spot, customer gets in. Go to the drop-off spot, customer gets out. Rinse and repeat. Now what we're doing is we're going to a bus station, we're picking up customer one, we put it in drive. Oh, crap. There's two people being picked up at this location. Now I got to find Susie Q, customer number two. Where is she? Oh, I already added her by accident because Susie Q got in, but it was really Jane I was looking for. And there's this weird confusion with Pool because you have multiple people. Oftentimes, they're at high traffic locations like bus stops, train stations, you know, busy street corners in the bar district, whatever. And what happens is it just becomes a jumbled mess. Oh, I confirmed you, but you're really not in my car. It's really person number two is in my car, and now I got to cancel your trip. And where are you? And it was a ridiculous headache. So what happened was, in the old way, drivers would stop requesting additional rides. They would basically go offline. So they would go offline in the little, you know, stop further requests button. And now what you've done is you've given someone a discounted ride. You don't realize you did it, but that's what you did. Because you took this Pool customer, and because you didn't want to deal with the headache, sorry, my back is itchy. Because you didn't want to deal with the headache of having to make multiple stops and multiple pickups, you did a stop further request button, and now that customer has a private car, but they're not paying X fare. They're paying Pool fare. So you're shortchanging yourself. So here's how it works. This is how we have to treat Pool guys. When we get a Pool ride, we just have to understand that we're going to be a shuttle service. We're going to pick up and drop off multiple people. Here's how you make this work for you, though. You have 3 chances to get a tip. Well, up to 3. You know, as many passengers separately that you pick up. Typically, it's 2 or 3 for me. So you get passenger number 1 gets in the car. If you have great rapport with passenger number 1 and you strike up conversation, then you're probably going to get a tip from passenger number 1. But what happens is passenger number 2 gets in the car. They see that there's this great conversation going on, and you and passenger number 1 include passenger number 2 in that conversation. Now you got 3 separate groups of people that are talking, driver and then 2 separate sets of passengers, all having a great time. You might even get another passenger who jumps in on this conversation, and you have a whole bunch of people that leave the ride feeling great and probably tipping you. That's ideal situation. Happens a lot. Sometimes what you get is passenger number one is a cold fish. They get in the car, they put earbuds on, they don't want to say anything, they don't want to interact. So then you kind of mimic them and you go into quiet mode as well. Passenger number two gets in the car, senses that body language from you and the cold fish passenger. They don't say anything. And so now, like, you're basically driving around a bunch of corpses. You're driving around a bunch of cold people that are being quiet. They don't want to talk. They don't want to interact. And you just drop them off, bing, bang, boom. And you don't really get a lot of tips out of that because a pool customer's not going to tip unless they have a really good ride. Because they're already, what's the word I want to look for? Cheap. They're cheap. So they're only going to break out the money and tip you if they really had an enjoyable experience. They're not going to tip you on average for average service because they're cheap. They're tightwads. They're panty pinchers. Whatever other expressions you can think of to describe somebody that's cheap. They're cheap. So you have to put on a show. You have to be exciting. You have to be engaging with a pool ride if you want to get a tip. And they're great tips if you get them. They are great tips if you get them because you get multiples. You get tips from a bunch of different people, and they are all good experiences, and you get 3 good surveys, and it all goes really well. But you got to put the show on. So that's my take on pool. Pool as a product is great. Don't shortcut yourself by turning off new requests. Enjoy it. Work it to the end. They're typically pretty good fares. You know, for 3 or 4 stops, you might get 30, 40 bucks. I mean, you know, they can be big. They can be pretty big for multiple stops. Kind of like a long trip. And that's the way you got to do it. So I'm going to leave you with that. I will dig into pool a little bit more. And if I feel like I understand it better than I already do, I'll look at some of my fares and I'll kind of think about the next couple pool rides I do over the next couple days. And if anything changes or if I notice anything significantly different, I'll let you guys know in a further video. But that's really how I take it. It was a minor adjustment they made, kind of shortening the zigzag effect. And then I think they changed the additional trips from a mileage time factor to a flat fee factor. I don't know what that flat fee is. I'm curious to see, but I don't know. If it rolled out today, then I'll be able to look at my trips and tell you guys tomorrow. If it didn't roll out right away, then I just won't have an answer for you until we see it. So that's where we stand, guys. I think it's going to be another great week. I'm off to a little bit of a pokey start, but that's kind of how I started the last 2 weeks, and they both finished strong. So, it's all about how you finish this race, not how you start it. You guys have a great night, and I will see you guys tomorrow.